Welcome back to another episode of the Right Read Podcast. I'm your co-host, Miles Reed.
And I'm your co-host, Davon Reed.
And today we got a special guest for you, D. Greg Grant.
What am I supposed to say?
Whatever's on your heart, that's what you're supposed
Thanks
to say.
for having me, guys. I appreciate you guys inviting me on. I'm glad to be here.
Okay.
Thank you. We appreciate you showing up. We're still very young in our podcasting, but we felt like it was very important to honor somebody in our small neighborhood who's a legend, and especially with the era of, digital media, it's surprising that you don't see as much as the homage that you deserve being floating around on the internet. But the real ones know, and the real ones respect what you're doing for the community currently, and what you've done and set the path for players like me, myself, players like Malachi, players like Cook, players like Miles Powell, just to name some of the few that have actually touched the league and following your footsteps. So as one of those players, I personally want to say thank you, and I appreciate you. And this is just here paying homage to you as people that grew up under you, honestly.
Oh man, I appreciate that. Being considered an old school guy. Like yourself, Malachi and Miles and Charles Cook, guys who I seen come up playing ball in high school and also reaching the goal that you guys reach. We don't talk as much. I cheer from afar, root for afar, but it's good to hear a guy like yourself who played in the league and done the things you've done on the basketball court, give me some recognition about the path I took as well. Appreciate that.
For sure. So, what we always like to start off on a Right Read podcast. Just want to talk about what we got on today. So, as our guest, you just tell us what you got on.
Oh, I'm basic, man. I just saw this in the closet and said, let me just throw this sweatsuit on. I just got on the Adidas sweatsuit with Adidas. I'm finally matching. Normally I ain't matching. I only have on a Nike or something else.
Every time I see you, always in some type of running.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep running gear
running.
on. So I can have on dress pants, but I'm gonna have on some running shoes in case I gotta run somewhere.
Okay.
But just Adidas today.
Okay.
You're clean.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Sure.
I'll go next. Start from the top. Exclusive London Supreme crew neck that I got, we got from in London. Pants, pleasure, snow pants, light material, snow pants, and then for the feet, some classic cherry 12s. What about you, Davon?
I start from the top. This is something I picked up as well in London. This is one of my favorite pieces. It looks like a Rangers jersey, but it's actually St. Michael. It's a new streetwear brand, high fashion. So this is a great piece. And then I got on pants from Jersey. What is it? Santana Labs. Shout out to Santana Labs. Shout out to Jersey and all the creators and people in the fashion space. And then I just went old school and I took it back with some all white Chucks. So kept it simple today, fellas.
Okay.
This episode of the Right Read Podcast is brought to you by Floyd's Financial Group, providing protection, security, and a peace of mind. This group includes life insurance, estate planning, trust and will, tax-free retirement, mortgage protection, final expenses, and Medicare. For more information, contact Sabrina Floyd at 843-765-6088. For a free financial review and assessment, please mention the Right Read Podcast.
Okay, so we just want to get into your story a little bit and talk about your path and your journey. But I just want to first drop some knowledge on some people who may not be familiar, although they should already be familiar. You are one of just under 4,300 players to ever be on an NBA court in an NBA jersey. You are of the smaller percentage that have actually been drafted to the NBA, heard their name called. You were draft number 52 and 89 to the Phoenix Suns. Just kind of talk about, I guess, night one, draft night, and just a little bit about your whole career, however you want to go from
Well, 89 was a special year for me and my college teammates. We actually went to the national championship at Division III. We finished a 30-2 record. Should have won the national championship, lost by I think 6 or 8 points. So we had scouts, NBA scouts, coming all season to the games, but the chances of a D3 kid getting drafted is almost impossible, even if you're playing well. I averaged 33 that year. So I was doing my thing on the court, but I still knew it was a long shot. That I probably had to go into camp as a free agent, and then after the season, after we lost, we started going to the combines, Portsmouth, Orlando, Chicago. That year, '89, Charles Smith was the Big East Player of the Year. So I went up, and Tim Hardaway was also at one of the camps. He was at Portsmouth in Chicago. So I was nervous going up against these guys. Obviously, I'm D3, they Division One. But once we started playing, I realized they wasn't better than me. They wasn't faster. They wasn't stronger or quicker. Everything that I thought the next level might be, because the Division One. Now once I realized that, so I just balled. And then when draft night come, we at my mom's house out West Trenton. Not thinking, not sure if I'm gonna get drafted. I wasn't sitting there like Shador. Thank God.
That's crazy.
That's still crazy.
That's
still crazy.
But I was nervous, and then after, I thought Portland was going to take me, or Indiana, and once they didn't take me, I didn't think I was going to get drafted. And then Phoenix came up with the 52nd pick. Charles Smith wasn't drafted yet, so I'm like, okay, the Big East Player of the Year, I'm not going before that guy. And Phoenix took me, and that's when it started. Once I got drafted, I knew I was going to play in the league. Most people thought oh, they just took him.
Right.
You've been there. He has no shot. They had Jeff Hornacek, Kevin Johnson, Dan Marley, Eddie Johnson. They drafted 2 more guards. They brought Michael Williams, who just won the championship with Detroit, over in a trade. So there was 0 chances for me to make that team. But I just knew that giving me that opportunity, that I was so close to my dream that no one's stopping this from happening.
Right.
So
Awesome.
I was gonna say, just based off your experience or your journey going to the NBA, what point of the process of getting or tryouts to the Portsmouth Combine, all that, at what point exactly you knew it was okay, I feel like this is where my greatest chances is going to be to get drafted?
We was in Orlando. After we went to Portsmouth, we went to Japan, played over there in the combine. Then we came back and played in Orlando. And I remember, you guys would know, Pooh Richardson played at UCLA. He's from Philly. I remember playing against him in the Summer League, Sunny Hill League, the summers before my senior year. And he was like, Lil G, you nice. He was like, you from where? I said, Trenton. He was like, wow. He said, so he was projected to be a first round pick. I don't even know if they had the lottery there, but he was going to be a top 10 pick. And he was like, he had a good game the first game, and then he was like, I'm done. That's all they're gonna see of me. You know what I mean? He said, it's on you now.
So he just
kind of now I'm older. I know now that's how guys did back then. They had a great game. The agent tell them that's it. They ain't gonna see no more of you.
That's kind of how, not to that extent, but it's kind of how it is now. If you already got that high stature of okay, he already proved himself through college or high
and everything.
School.
And but back then it was you played back then. Now they probably wouldn't even play. And then some, because you didn't sign a contract until after you made the team. Now no joker sign a contract as soon as they get drafted. So so Pooh was like, I'm done. And that was the game I actually played. I started and played against Charles Smith.
Okay.
And I just I played really well against him. Had one of my better games that summer. And I think that's right there. And after the game, Pooh was like, yo, you killed that joke. You know what I mean? You got a shot, man. Somebody gonna take you, bro. Somebody gonna take you. And right then, that gave me some confidence.
Okay, so as I guess a quote unquote journeyman in the NBA to one quote unquote journeyman in the NBA, how did you navigate with playing so many teams in the NBA, and also what was your favorite spot, and kind of let them know just the insight that we have about how difficult it is to even do that? And then just kind of, I just want you to kind of explain your career about that level.
My favorite spot, obviously, Phoenix was my favorite spot because that was my first team. They drafted me, my first experience being in the NBA. My favorite team was the Sixers because I grew up a Sixers fan. So I never imagined playing for the Sixers. I wanted to play in the NBA, but never thought I would be playing for the Sixers. So Sixers is probably the biggest dream that I ever had that came true, playing with a team that I grew up rooting for and idolizing all those years. The journey, as you know, most people, I think I had one, I don't think I had a 2-year contract my whole 8 years of playing. So I pretty much, I had a 2-year, obviously I had a 2-year contract with Phoenix, but it was a player option. The first year was my guarantee, second year was the team option. So, and most people don't know, when you don't get the 2 or 3 year deal, you're not safe.
Of course.
So every summer is like you gotta make a team, and that's the part that most people don't realize. The difficult is like you gotta make a team where there's no way to make a team. If they got 12 guaranteed contracts, you're not breaking through. I don't care how well you play, and most people don't realize that. That's the challenging part. And I always tell people. And somebody was asking me, I was like, can you imagine? There's a million teachers, but can you imagine there was only 450 teachers in the world, and every year they drafting more teachers. How could you survive that? How can you survive and have one of those jobs? And they like almost impossible, because every year there's a draft. Somebody's coming in every year. A first round draft pick is going to be on the team.
60 new.
60 new every single year. So imagine if there's only 450 of you in the world, and someone's coming in every year to take your job.
Yeah, that's crazy because.
So go ahead.
No, I was just, it's funny you say that because I was just talking to my grandma about this yesterday because she was watching the NFL draft. And, you know, NFL, this is like, 7 rounds each?
Yeah.
And, like, each team hold, about 30 to 40 people?
Probably more than that. It's like 53. I think they cut down to 53.
But, like,
traveling team.
So in a sense, they tripling the amount of people in the NBA.
Right.
And it's like, because I had this debate with my friends all the time, like, what sport is harder, NBA or NFL? And I be telling, like, NBA, it's just way smaller chance for you to get into the league rather than
and most people look at, like, LeBron, they look at Steph, they look at the players that plays 10 plus years.
Right.
But they'll tell you the average survival rate is what, 3 years
3
in
to
the
5
NBA.
years.
Yeah, that's
3 to 5 years.
that's almost impossible. So the journey for me was like my 7-8 years of playing in the NBA. Most people would never really understand it. When you don't have a guaranteed contract and you got to make a team, most people don't realize how hard it is to make a team.
At all.
Right.
They do not.
They have no clue.
Forget like them thinking how easy it is to actually play, because a lot of people are just creatives. I ain't gonna call them crazy, but a lot of people creative. I ain't gonna tell them what they can and can't do, but they don't know how hard it is to play in the NBA. Let alone they don't know how hard it is to make a team, especially when you come in as not a non-guaranteed player or you trying to just on an exhibit 10. Like those things are like almost impossible.
It's almost impossible. So anybody that plays 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, most people cannot do that. The average 99% of the average basketball player cannot survive in the NBA. That's why I think you say it was under 4,300, or I think Magic said something to me Magic said this years ago. He said, I think he put it at 45 or 5,000. He said there's only 5,000 people that ever step foot on the NBA court. He said, so no matter where you go at in life, if you go to the movies, you go to a football game or Coliseum, you might be the only player to ever play in the NBA in that arena. That's how few people make it at that level. So you think about it, no matter we all from here, but no matter where you go at, you're gonna be the only guy that played in the NBA.
Right.
Chances are 9 times out of 10.
Right.
And that's rare. Like if you at a mall and you say, how many doctors are here? Somebody gonna say, I'm a doctor, or I'm in the medical field. How many teachers or educators? Oh yeah, no, I'm a teacher.
It's common.
How many NBA players ain't gonna be there? So that's the rarity of it, of you not making it to that league.
Yes. I wanted to ask you, like you were saying, like how hard it is to be a make it to the NBA and play in the NBA, but you also have coaching experience as well. Like, a lot of people can't be coaches. Like, they can be players but not be coaches because of like the IQ and all the stuff that goes in. I'm gonna ask you, like, what is harder, being a coach or being a player, like all around?
Being a player. I mean, like we just said, to survive at that level, being a player at that level, it's tough because, like you say, it's not only. Most of it has nothing to do with your skill set, because once you're a pro, you're a pro. You know how to dribble, you know how to shoot, you know how to pass, you know how to defend, you know how to think. So it ain't really got nothing to do with your skill set. It's the business of someone's always coming in to take your job, and then it's also the business of that coach know you're better than that person, but we got to keep this person. And then we got to give you a reason why. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you know, and they know you better than that person. So, playing is always difficult and tough because, like you say, it's not just you playing in the NBA, but it's also your livelihood. You got a house, you got a car, you got a family. So every year, you still got to support them and maintain a job and a way of living. So you have all that bottled up, and then you're young. You're still 24, 25 years old, and you got to deal with all that stuff. So coaching is knowledge. Coaching is knowledge in basketball. That's the easy part. Making a team and playing in the NBA is a whole lot more that goes with that.
Okay, so we talked about it earlier, 89 draft. And you talked about like your experience going against some of those people in the pre-draft process. After it's all said and done and during that time, who were some of the players in your draft that you respected the most? Because you had players like Sean Kemp in there, Tim Hardaway Jr., Vlade Divac, just to name some of the big names. Who was some people that you respected their career and maybe at the time you respected them?
I would say, let me see, when I came out, Tim Hardaway, because we was both at Portsmouth. Portsmouth, I don't know if you went to Portsmouth. Portsmouth is the first one, and that one is for guys, second round, guys that might be second round picks, guys like on the bubble, not, I'm sure.
But all seniors.
All seniors. And Tim Hardaway was there. I think he came from UTEP. Never heard of him. Obviously, never heard of me. And Tim was balling. And and I was balling. That's why we was able to go to the next camp and then to the next camp. But then to see him in the NBA shine and grow and become an all-star and become one of the top players in the league at that time. So I always respected Tim Hardaway game because I knew where he came from. I know he wasn't high on the draft chart when he first got out of school and everything. So he built himself into a really great career. B.J. Armstrong, obviously, went against him. Mookie Blaylock was in that draft. So there were some solid, good guards in that draft that wound up having good careers, and I respect that for that.
Awesome.
Okay. So you go through your player career, basketball career, coaching career. What's life like after? I know you. Are you still involved in some sort of way with basketball? If not, is there anything outside of basketball that you do nowadays?
I'm president of the Trenton High Basketball Association. We run the sports for the school district, Trenton School District. So this is our third year with basketball. We bringing in track, soccer, also in this year. So we're excited about that. I used to coach Trenton High School. Now my childhood friend Puck, Darryl Young, is coaching. He always wants to get free help. Can you train this guy? Can this guy come over? Everything's for free.
Right.
Yeah. And he just tell him, go. Greg is over at Hedgepad. Go over there. So he always doing stuff he ain't supposed to do.
Right.
So, but
you gonna see this and you gonna
he know it's true too. But no, I guys, I look back at my career. Like I said, I was a college dropout. Came right out of Trenton High, no scholarship. Go out to Marsh Brown in Atlanta, play for a semester. Drop out of school, work at a fish store for a year and a half, decide to go back to college, and then 3 years later, I'm in the NBA. So the journey, might seem like it was wonderful, but it was a struggle. But I'm blessed. I'm in my high school Hall of Fame. I'm in my college Hall of Fame. I'm in the National Small College Hall of Fame. Jersey retired at Trenton High School. Got a park named after me. Been involved in the community from day one since I became an NBA player. And I got 5 grandkids. All my kids are doing well.
Awesome.
My mother's about to turn 75 in about a week.
God bless.
So, I'm just blessed, man. And also to see guys like Devon come up, Malachi, Miles, Charles Cook, guys, because I know, everybody say times are different. That's obvious. They'll say the old school guys was better and it was harder to play back then. But the struggle is the struggle.
Yeah.
I don't care what era you in. When you're among some of the best players to ever play the game, it don't matter what era you came through.
Right.
So I respect guys who played in the 50s and 60s, and I respect the guys who play today because I know that it's not easy playing in that league.
I'm glad you said that. I know me, Dave Vaughn, and my dad, we always had this conversation about if players that's been playing like in the 80s, 90s are able to compete with the people of this generation compared to this generation to the old generation. Now, who do you think will survive, this generation or?
Oh, this generation definitely is not better than the old school generation. I respect that they're where they are, but it's not even close. But I'm not stupid because I understand Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron, those type of guys can play in any era. They're good enough. But I just think the game has changed so much, you just don't see the physicality of this generation. They done changed rules for this generation. The flopping rule, there's a lot of things they trying to make the game better because of the way guys are playing. But I seen Devon, and it flashed right back to old school. He was playing LeBron when he locked LeBron up. I know a lot of LeBron fans don't want to hear it, but when he locked him up, he like yes. He was like, come on,
Right.
that was old school.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that Joker could play back in the day. Because he had an attitude about, like, I want this challenge. And, LeBron is considered one of the greatest to ever play. But to him, it didn't matter. That's when they say that's old school basketball. We don't have enough of that in this generation where we see guys competing like that. It's like, oh, we friends, we play AAU together, we're going to hang out this summer. That didn't happen when I was coming up. So there's definitely a difference in attitude and competing wise, but talent wise, Jokers are just as talented today as they were back then. Jokers was just as athletic back then as they are today. Most people say, oh, this generation has more athletes. And no, Dr. J and them guys was athletic, way athletic. So it's just a mixture of both, but competing is definitely different. Guys don't compete like, I think they should compete, but the talent is still there.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Right Read Podcast, like, share, subscribe to our YouTube at The Right Read. Follow us on Instagram, X, and TikTok at The Right Read.
So again, we just want to thank you so much for taking your time out and coming to be on our podcast. I don't even know if you really know what we do, but Miles and I came up with the idea to have the Right Read Podcast. We've been thinking about it for a few years, but it just felt like the time was right now where we just talk about music, fashion, pop culture, sports, and you're actually going to be the first interview of ours. So we appreciate you coming on because we're trying to enter that space as well. But we really just wanted to pay homage to a real legend of Trenton, a real legend of Mercer County, just somebody who inspired and is still inspiring a lot of people, because the basketball is one side, but people not knowing always what people are doing behind the scenes to make the community better and pay it forward. So we appreciate all that.
No, thanks, man. I think your pop reached out and said, hey, man, my boys would like you to come on. I was like, get on my number. Miles hit me up. I said, yeah. You know what I mean? I've been asked to go on podcasts for a while. It be jokers I don't know. They inbox me. Yo, I'm not going on that podcast. I don't even know who you are. You know what I mean? But, you guys are family.
I appreciate
You know what I'm saying? Like, your dad and I grew up together. And, so it's going to always be yes. Anything you guys need, and no hesitation. So I really appreciate you guys having me. I'm glad to be on. I'm glad to see you guys trying to do something positive and do something that you guys are excited about doing. So
Appreciate that.
Congrats.
Last thing I'll say, I know they'll be mad if we don't say something about Grand Express. So
Well, like what? Like your dad? What?
What was it about?
Whatever.
What was
Grant-
it about? Because that's all, like,
Nah.
every now and then my dad always say, be like, Grand Express, this Grand Express.
Yeah,
Great team.
no, we when I came back from the league in the summer, I wanted the park was the park. It was everybody out there, thousands of people coming out, pumping, and them say, "Hey, put a team together." Again, wanted the money. They wanted to put the money up, but we worked our butts off, man. You actually had to try out for Grand Express. We cut jokers. It was a spectacle, but I know your dad never played high school. I don't think he ever played high school or anything like that. But when it comes to where you probably got some of your toughness from, when it comes to a tough guy that compete and don't think nobody's better than him, he might as well have been in the NBA.
Listen, I'm glad somebody is here to witness.
Hubbard is the greatest thing to ever step on the court. Best believe that.
Listen,
he gonna lock anybody down. But you know what? When you go out there and play, he was tough, and coaching him, Pup, and facing them all, it was fun, but it was a headache. You got a lot of egos, man.
They still got egos.
Yeah, they still argue and compete. If they we scared to have a reunion because we think somebody gonna go out there and start playing
at like 50 to 60 years
years
old.
old. Talking about they can lock you up.
That's crazy.
But no, those are the best days, man. We played ball. We practiced every day. We hung out afterwards, man. You talking about a neighborhood that came together for that Grand Express Summer League time. That's why you hear them always talking about it, because it was like one of the best times of our lives. So for me to be home in the summer, off for NBA season, just to be around those guys every day, it was great.
For sure. Well, we appreciate you, and we're going to wrap it up right here on another episode of the Right Read Podcast. I'm your co-host, Davon Reed.
And I'm your other co-host, Miles Reed.
And thank you again to Greg Grant for being a very special guest on today's episode. We'll see y'all next time.
Peace.